Hello and welcome back to Choice Bits of Bliss. I wanted to share with you on this long Independence Day, July 4th weekend, some inspiration for patriotic pages. I looked this one up and found it on Pinterest and loved it immediately. My original intention was to do this with you all, but I got excited and I went ahead and did it. So this is where we are. I love the design of it. And the original sketch or the original layout was the center portion was shrunk down a bit, but it only had one photo. And so I felt like I needed a larger portion. I learned that if you're going to turn a piece of paper on a 12 by 12 and keep it even, 8.5 is back. Wow, let me try that again. 8.5 inches is as big, so an 8.5-inch square. That's what size this fireworks paper is. That's as large as you can go to get the corners not going off of a 12 by 12 mat base. I can already tell that speaking is going to be difficult today, and I apologize for that. Anyway, so I used 6 pieces of paper on this layout because I matted my base, and then I matted this, and I matted this. Then my scraps I used to make the tails, these fish tails, all the way around. I did not have a lot of paper left over. You would think I would, but I didn't, because even this white paper that I cut down, I used the leftovers to mat these 2 photos. So there was not a lot of scraps. And I love that. I love this design. I think it's super cute. The story behind these photos, we were in Louisville, Kentucky in 2010 for a convention. My oldest son had won a contest and got sent to nationals, and he placed 5th nationally. And while we were there, it was a surprise to us. Our hotel room looked out over the river, and we heard pops, and we looked out the window, and they were doing a fireworks show over the river. So we got to watch it, and you can see there, I didn't take a lot of photos, but my little one, who's not so little anymore, his happy face as he was looking out watching the fireworks. And these are not great photos. These are from a cell phone. So you can imagine back in 2010, cell phones didn't take great photos like they do now. But I love them. I love that this memory was captured. So, speaking of going back in time, oh, let me show you this real quick. Our architecture, good gosh, I really need to go back to bed. Our architect was at our house the other day, and he gave me this. This is called a knead eraser. It doesn't leave crumbs, so it doesn't leave the eraser bits, and you knead it like bread dough to reshape it, get rid of the pencil marks, and then use it again. I do think it probably needs to be protected in a baggie or something. I don't think it needs to just be sitting out in the air. But I thought this was interesting and that I would share it with you. Now, moving on. We're going back in the Wayback Machine. This is my little fella when he was tiny. He wasn't even a month old yet. This is some photos we had taken of him. I was trying to be a photographer with my SLR. So this was before digital. And these photos were taken in July of 2002. And yeah, he's got this patriotic blanket on. And I felt like I needed papers that were in the same tones of this blanket to make it work. So I went through let me share this with you real quick. because I'm scattered, and I would hate to ever give off the impression that I've suddenly got it all together. But this is my Patriotic. I have two. So this is my first one, and I had a little bit of overflow, so I went ahead and started filling up another one. But this is everything I have. And I have some Patriotic sets that are a little more rustic, kind of old world looking. This Simple Story set is one of them. That's all American. And I can't wait to use them. But as I was pulling things for this layout, I really felt like I needed to stay with the more bright colors. These are bits and pieces from a Fancy Pants 6x8 pad that I've got left over. I have used it up. And I have some Doodlebug. Let's just slow down and look through them. So this is from Land That I Love. This is a scrap from Bella Boulevard. Doodlebug, Land That I Love. And I'll show you in a moment the sketch that I'm wanting to recreate. I'm wanting to scrap lift. And now we're moving into Bella Boulevard, Fireworks and Freedom. But I feel like the colors can kind of cross over and work together. Okay, so that's the paper selection that I have with some scraps, and my embellishments that I have pulled out are from, this is Photo Play. We've got Pebbles, Doodlebug, American Craft, Fancy Pants, Pebbles, Fancy Pants, Hobby Lobby, and Pebbles. But once again, it's really bright, saturated colors. So that's what I will be playing with. We're using several different manufacturers, and it will come together lovely. Now let me show you the sketch, or it's not a sketch, it's a scrap lift. This is what I'm thinking about. So I love this circular design. I love the layered, it looks kind of higgledy-piggledy. You know, they're not the same dimensions, but I'm thinking I want this to be more prominent. I don't want the inside circle. I think I want these to make kind of almost like a starburst, but in that circle. I love the stars. And because I have these three large photos, I'm going to cut them down a little bit. It's going to take up more of this white space over here. So that's what I'm thinking. Let me get my papers together for sure that I want to use, and then we'll start creating this. I've cut down my photos to 3.5 by 5.5, and if I need to trim a little more, I'm able to on each one of them. So I still have room at the end. That's not going to alter the story, and I have room at the top and at the bottom. So whatever I need to do, I'm able to do it. And what I'm thinking is, what I'm looking for right now is a paper that can be my mat, because I'm going to have to bring in a white piece of cardstock. I have it right here. That will be my base. We need that white space because there's going to be a lot going on. So I'm thinking about a base. Where was it? Here we go. I'm thinking of this. Because the pattern is so tight, it's going to show up really well underneath. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. But let me look at the other selections just to make sure this is what I want to go with. Oh, I see one here that I'm also considering because it's got such a dark color background. That could also look really nice. I like that. So let's leave that one as a maybe. And then we have this really saturated red. Where did it go? Here. So we have this that could also make a really nice background. And I believe I'm going to be choosing the red. Okay, now that we have our base, I need to create my circle. I'm going to trace one and then start filling it in with scraps. So I'm not going to make you sit through all of that. I'll be right back. I haven't adhered this yet, but I started thinking, because there is a large circular element on the right hand side, I think I want to round my corners. Excuse me. Because it starts giving you that lead in to circular movement. And I like how that looks. So we're going to adhere this down, and then we're going to start thinking about, I'm going to trace. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I may do a voiceover for this portion, and speed up the process because it's going to take a bit. So that's what I will do. I have my handy dandy Creative Memories large circle. I'm tracing the interior of it because I didn't want the circle to be super big. And once I start creating my little pieces to make the circle, I just felt like it would be too big. So anyway, I chose to do the interior. Now I'm going through the process of selecting the papers that I want to cut, and something that um, I'm paying attention to is the direction of the patterns as I'm cutting. I want to make sure that I have, because I'm going to use the A and the B side on some of these, I wanted to make sure that I had the option to turn the pattern the way that excuse me, that it's oriented. So that's something that I'm being mindful of, and you'll see as I'm cutting through these that I start paying attention right here. I want to make sure I have options to do either or. And spoiler alert, I cut way too many of these strips, but I wanted to make sure I had enough. On this paper that had the border strips, there were some of them that I wanted to keep to use later, and that's why I turned it over so that the branding strips, I'm sorry, not branding strips, the border strips were face up so that I could make sure that I wasn't cutting through something that I wanted to use at a later time. Once again, these firework bursts I wanted them oriented in the way that they are designed. So I am definitely going to pull in the scraps that I had left over because that's just a beautiful red, and I wanted to make use of it. And this floral that's from Fancy Pants, I like it as well. It does not go with the other papers, but that's okay. So now I'm just going to do a rough layout of what I think I want the design to be, and in the order that I want the color patterns to show up. Since I have a red, saturated red background, it's bright, and I wanted to make sure that in my circle there was a red that of a similar saturation. This is when I start frustrating myself because my pieces start moving when I'm pulling paper out from under them. Really didn't think this through. But anyway, I wanted to make sure that the red was represented in that semicircle as well so that um, you're getting that continuity in color and in design. Now, I've made the decision. I cut each one of those strips 1 inch. They were 1 inch wide. And as I was laying them down, I realized if I let them overlap, it's really going to bulk up at the center of the circle. And I don't want this super bulky point in the circle, semicircle. You get the drift. Anyway, so now I've decided to cut each of those 1 inch strips down to 3 inches long. And I'm adhering them. So it is what it is. However they land on there, that's how they land. I'm being mindful to make sure that to follow the lines, the arc of the circle, to give that circular uh, feeling, even though I'm using rectangles to create it. And I'm just placing, I'm doing this by feel. I don't have a real path forward. I'm just kind of looking and seeing, if I have a really deep color, I'm trying to put in something that has a white base occasionally so that it just breaks it up. I want it to have that pieced together kind of quilted look. It feels more country, for want of a better word, more homespun. And I really wanted to kind of emphasize that look. And as I'm putting this together, I will be honest with you, I really enjoy this process. And I love how it looks. I love how it turns out. About this point, I'm realizing, if I put the title down that I'm thinking, it's going to kind of wash out on that white center in the circle, because that's where my title is going to go, is in the center of that semicircle. And the stickers that I had selected, they're silver. And I'm already kind of thinking about that at this point in time, and wondering, okay, what am I going to do to counteract that? How am I going to make sure that my title is prominent and shows up, and it has the look that I want it to have? And you can see me tapping my fingers. I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to make this work? So I've come up with a solution, and I decide to get out some dies. So I'm doing a rough placement of my photos to see what I'm thinking and if I like this still. And I do. I knew I would, but I'm deciding how I want to move forward. And I am going to make a base for those photos. And now I've decided that the blue's too much underneath those, to be the first thing that's underneath the photo. So I'm going to double mat it. And I end up being much happier with how that turns out. So I'm just trimming it down now so that the double mat will work. And then I will adhere everything together and get it ready for my photos. It's been a minute since I've created this layout, and I feel like I'm learning with you what I did because I'm not sure. I played with the idea of doing a more whimsical orientation of the photo mat, and I'm sorry, my air conditioner just kicked on. And then I decided, no, the feel and the mood of the layout, just I didn't feel like it lent to that whimsical. I don't think there would have been anything wrong with it, but I just decided to go keeping everything linear and straight, and now I'm cleaning up. I'm still debating about the center. And this is where you can see my thickers. And I know they're going to disappear. So, uh, yeah, I'm still trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? So now I'm measuring it. I've got an idea. And I'm going to get out my dies. I've selected one that has a scalloped edge. And I'm going to cut I think it's a 3.5 inch circle with a scalloped edge to fill the center of that semicircle. And I wasn't certain which color I wanted to go with, so I cut a couple of them. So yeah, I needed to trim down that piece of paper. Another thing that I'm doing consistently is getting rid of branding strips on my scraps because so that I don't have that affinity. So I'm kind of divorcing myself from the brand and the collection, and I'm just weighing my scraps based on if I can use it or not. Instead of, oh my gosh, I need to keep that. That's a piece of my mind's eye. Or that's a piece of whatever collection that I love so much. So the title that I selected, and it was on the thicker sheet, was Oh My Stars. And I thought it was just perfect for this layout and for my sweet little boy. But I'm going to give you a PSA right now. These thickers were the devil to try to get off of that sheet. And it is a reminder we need to use our stuff. These stickers are old. I bought them in 2019 from Tuesday Morning, and that paper stayed stuck to the back, it was torn and stuck to the back, and then it wouldn't stick to the paper. The adhesive wouldn't. The adhesive wasn't staying on the transfer sheet. It was whatever adhesive it was. Anyway, it worked. It just was a lot of tedious kind of messing with uh, the letters to get it to come out the way that it needed to come out and for it to stay stuck to my page. We need to use our products. I used the red die cut in the middle, as you can see, instead of the blue. Once again, going with that continuity of color pop. So at this point in time, I'm feeling really pleased with how this layout is turning out. I had looked it up on Pinterest and got the idea from another layout. And even though I didn't follow that scrap lift to the T, I followed it close enough that I'm really happy with it. And these stars came from Hobby Lobby. They were part of the 4th of July kind of like decorations. They weren't even part of scrapbooking stuff. So I don't care. They work perfect. The colors are perfect, and that's enough. Anyway, I've talked longer than I'm supposed to. Come back. We'll chat again soon. Bye bye.